Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Fan Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 7th and 8th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline Comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish, they're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many, many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kelber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday nights as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Silverline Silver Sunday. This Sunday, September the 22nd. I'm your host, I am Roland Man, and I am excited to talk about tonight's fun topic. We are going to have a blast, maybe even a little debate, maybe, who knows, what's going to happen. I am joined, as usual, by that man in the mask guy, Mr. Mike W. Belcher. Say hi, Mike.
And a stereotypical howdy to everyone today.
That's right. Also, joining us from the blur world, Mr. Roberta Conroy.
Hello.
What's up, Roberta?
Coloring.
And you're going to be sharing some cat and mouse coloring tonight, right?
Sure.
Sweet.
I can pop it up for you.
And also a stereotype himself, Mr. Tom Mason.
This is where I say, oh, it's great to be here.
That's right. So stereotypical, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's great.
All right. Before we get too far along the ways, I want to let everyone know that let me highlight these here. That these books are in. I've got these now from our wonderful printer, and wait till you see this one. Oh,
shiny.
Yeah. So these are all in. These are in my hands now. Got these from our wonderful printer, Kablam. So these will start shipping probably on Tuesday as I get all of these packages ready to go. So good looking book. You guys get ready. You're gonna enjoy, really enjoy this conclusion here. It's the 4th issue to Divinity. The brainchild of Miss Barb Kalberg. So
the silver ones or the foil ones,
yes, sir.
They look a lot different than the more traditional shiny foil ones. I think they look better.
Yeah, I think so. If Tommy were here, he could explain the differences, the technical differences. I don't know specifically. What I do know is that I know a little bit of the process because, well, I've been there some, and also he's walked me through it several times. But this is actually the paper that they print on is the foil.
Right. Yeah.
So foil is not something that's actually put on. Foil is the paper itself. Because I'd asked him, yeah, I had asked him once about doing foil trades, and he goes, they can't get them to work because he goes, this one fold is about all they can do without really messing up the paper.
Right.
So it's not like they haven't tried. And he says, oh, we're still trying. We're trying stuff all the time. And they do. He's always he's every time I see Tommy, he's bringing me stuff. Look at this, the cool stuff I found. So yeah. So what I know, and I know sometimes what he has to do is they actually have to print down a layer of white to get some of the an underlayer of sorts.
Like primer for when you paint your bedroom.
Exactly like that. Yes, absolutely. So. So that's probably not the answer that you were looking for, Tom.
No, because you know, I don't know anything about about the processes. I know what the graphic designers have to do to get it ready.
Yeah.
But I don't understand it. But I do, from what I see visually, those look like a lot better, sharper foils than I've seen from other printers.
Yes.
Yeah, they look great.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one of the reasons is, and Tommy and I talk about this a lot of time. You know, part of what is good about Kablam is they are a specialty printer. They're a short run specialty printer. If you're a comic book maker, we talk about this all the time. We promote Kablam like crazy here, right? But if you need to go to print with 2,000 copies of your comic, Kablam is probably not the printer for you, right? Because that's not a short run. But I can't remember how many we printed. I want to say we printed 40 of these. So it's a very limited run. This is the kind of stuff they specialize in. When you need something like this, right? Or even if you're just saying, hey, I've got a variant cover I'm going to do. I want 100 copies of this variant cover. Then that's what you can more easily do than going to a traditional.
But if you did, let's say, Roland, if you did 2,000 copies at a different printer, and you wanted to do 40 copies of a specialty foil, you could come to Kablam and just do your 40.
Absolutely could. You absolutely could. And in fact, that's the kind of thing we've done before as well. We had something. We haven't had that many that we printed at the larger numbers, but we printed a couple. But then we came and we printed our smaller, the things that we needed a smaller run for. So. Yeah, so these books look great. Great questions, you guys. These books look great. We're going to start shipping those, like I said, probably Tuesday. I am not going to package anything tonight because I'm still a little bit pooped. And I'm not packaging anything tonight. I might not package anything tomorrow. Depends on what kind of I have not checked my work email yet over the weekend. Students usually frantically email me on Sundays and say, hey, I can't get my assignment done. And
what? Students?
Yes,
late or something? Can't get it done?
Excuses?
Yeah. So it depends on how many were, and this was the hard week. And Mike will appreciate this. This was lettering week. Yeah, so I have an assignment where I give them 3 pages. I collected up a random sampling of pages from a bunch of independent comic book makers, and I give them 3 pages. All of them get a different set of 3 pages, and they are to script and letter them. And it's a tough assignment. Yeah,
and use as many fonts as possible, please.
That's right. As many fonts and as many colors. Yeah. Oh my gosh!
And use Comic Sans and use the eye with the serif.
Yeah. Pop says, "Hey yo, what's up, Pops? Good to see you here. Thank you as always, Pops." And then as a reminder, Pop says, "Hey, if you want to bring your show to the Madness Comic Network or become a sponsor, there's the email. Drop Pops Van Zant on Facebook message. Madness Comic Network is a collective of folks just like us who like to talk about comics and all kinds of geeky, nerdy stuff. And so we are proud and happy to be part of the network.
I don't think there's anybody just like us.
No,
That's
we're
true.
pretty unique.
Yeah.
That's how stereotypical of you said say that, Tom.
I like to keep it with. I was going to make a list of all the cliches that I could speak tonight. But
yeah. So while we talk about stereotypes, Roberta is is going to be coloring. So we're going to get to watch Roberta. Roberta, tell us a little bit about what you're coloring right now.
I am coloring a very dangerous position for cat and mouse book called The Vipers, and it is got vipers.
Snakes.
And she's in a tight squeeze.
She's in a tight squeeze. I like that. Yeah. That's
yeah,
right.
I think snakes and mice don't get along too well.
Yeah. That's right. Hopefully
she's having a bit of trouble.
Yeah, hopefully she won't become a mousy meal for the
We're
snake.
hoping not.
Yeah. But you guys can hopefully look for this fairly soon. I'm thinking Roberta is probably pretty close to the end here. So hopefully you guys can look for this pretty soon as we start a new cat and mouse adventure with this. Angelo Conception is the artist. And he's a recent Cuber School grad, and this is he's got some very, very fun pencils in here. A lot of action, a lot of energy, a little bit of manga influence, which I find very, very cool in this. Yep,
it's refreshing.
And,
really.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and of course it's inked by our good buddy Jose Fuentes. So it's exciting.
So it's interesting how comics have sort of moved. I know this is off topic, but
Okay.
It's interesting how comics have sort of moved away from. There's a period where there was the Kirby influence,
Yes.
and the Buscema Romita sort of influence, and then the Adams influence, and then the Image Guy influence, and now there's a strong manga anime influence in a lot of the up and coming, the youngsters.
I'm sorry, Tom. You just gave me an idea for a whole stream.
That's what I mean.
Great.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. No, I think you're right. And it's funny because we talk about it. Manga's not new. I mean, I remember manga as for me as a younger reader. I don't remember it as a kid.
But
we had it.
We had access to anime because there was Gigantor and Astro Boy and Kimbo the White Lion and stuff like that. So we grew up with some of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Speed Racer.
Speed Racer.
Speed Racer. Yeah. Speed Racer was the first one I really remember being kind of popular. But I think the first, of course, this is still off topic. The first anime I remember watching and really going, wow, was Fist of the North Star. Did you guys ever see that?
I know of it.
I never saw that. I saw Akira in the movie theater, and my head blew off.
God, yeah, that one blew me away.
Akira was the second one I saw, and I was just like, "Wow, what is this? This is not like Speed Racer."
No,
And then I remember Eclipse. So did Maya the Psychic Girl, and
and
Robotech,
Pineapple Army,
of course, and then Malibu did Robotech.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think all of this was really early stuff.
Yeah, so it's been in the air for decades.
Yes, yeah. Pop says, "Love you guys. Thanks for being a part of what we were trying to build." Thank you, Pops. Appreciate you, man. Logan Kane McCullough says,
I was about to say that one.
There we go. There's another one.
Me and Logan on the same vein on that when I was about to say that one.
Another great example.
G-Force.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's save all this for
Roland's other show.
Yeah, for another one. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So any other news before we get on topic?
Yeah, I think somebody was at a show recently, and we haven't heard about that show. Did you already do a con report
for
Daytona?
I think so. We did it last time. I think.
I forgot we were on the air last week.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about Daytona.
No, I'm
already.
good. I got nothing then. Don't mind me. I'm just going to sit here in the bathroom.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I forgot to add that you're joining us from the bathroom in Southern California, which we appreciate your dedication, right?
Exactly.
It's important. No matter what's going on with your stomach, you can always be on the show.
That's right. Just make sure you flush quietly.
That's it.
Roberta's like, man, this show is quickly going to the toilet.
Yeah. Well, it's
not unusual.
It should be similar to when we all used to work at Malibu. This is basically the same type of conversation we had.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that.
Yes, there was. Okay, so my claim tonight is for any of you who have been around writing instructors, writing professors, writing teachers, books talking about writing, any of this kind of thing, you have probably seen the simple phrase "avoid stereotypes." Almost every writing convention that I can think of that I've ever attended, there was somebody in there who was preaching avoid stereotypes. Don't create stereotypical characters, etc., etc., etc.
Was he wearing a corduroy jacket with patches and smoking a pipe?
Yeah, had the little patches. That's right. Yeah, on the elbows. That's right. It probably had a pipe. It slipped into his coat
That's
pocket.
right. And he would occasionally tap it on the edge of something.
That's right. Yeah. But my contention is that as a writer, you should embrace stereotypes because they are a tool of the writer. And I'm going to put this out there as an example. A carpenter has a toolbox, right? He has a hammer, he has a level, he has all these other things. And you wouldn't ask the carpenter, well, it's so stereotypical to hammer in your nail with that hammer. Why don't you use a screwdriver instead? Because that's not stereotypical. And the carpenter would look at you and say, but my hammer is made for hammering nails. The screwdriver is made for a different tool. It does a different thing. So my argument, my contention is stereotypes serve a purpose in your writing, but you have to be smart about how you do it, of course. But writers should not avoid stereotypes, but they should embrace them and work on them. Discuss.
That sounds crazy to me.
They do the
I
work
love it,
for
Roberta.
us. They do the work for us. Stereotypes, especially in a visual medium.
Yes.
They show, they don't tell. And that's exactly what we're, the whole point of us being storytellers is they help us out because there you go. Who's wearing all the sports memorabilia right now?
That's right. That's right.
Roland Stereotype is wearing it.
That's right. Yeah. And even Hyper says Woo Pig.
Yeah.
Well, I think so. The thing is, there are a couple of things. One is that
wait. We have a flyby here.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Where are you, Tommy?
I am standing in front of Space Mountain.
Cool.
So we have a stereotypical Florimonte flyby.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
That is so correct.
Doing a stereotypical Florida tourist thing, going to Disney World.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Tonight was our, we had an earlier day that we were going to come do the Mickey's Not So Scary Christmas party, and Renee had a head cold, not COVID, but just a head cold. And so we had to move it, and today was the day they moved it to.
Nice. Is Renee feeling better?
It's fun to have a roving reporter.
You see the Space Mountain sign?
Yeah, look at that.
This is Tommy, your roving reporter.
I just rode Tron. Tron is really cool. That's the first time I got to ride Tron. That's a cool ride.
What was the guy who did Get Smart? What was his name?
Don Adams.
Don Adams. Did you ever see Don Adams, the roving reporter?
Right. Dun, 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 dun.
Did you ever listen to Don Adams' skits, The Roving Reporter?
No.
Oh, those were so good. I forget what the character's name was, but Don Adams played a roving reporter, and he would interview different people. So funny. So funny.
Tommy, stop somebody and interview them.
There you go.
Yeah, Tommy, stop them and ask them what they think about comic books.
You're on the air.
What do they think about comics?
Yeah.
I was looking for Renee. I was going to stop her.
He's gonna put Renee on.
So tell us,
So-
interested party.
So what are we talking about tonight? While I can be on there, I can't be on. I gotta go in a minute.
The stereotypes. And
Stereotypes.
why you should embrace them. Did you embrace?
I think one of the just to do my quick part and then get off is because everybody already kind of. I mean, maybe some stereotypes are just bad, but you already know what those folks are, right? Because
Yes.
it's a stereotype, so you can put the reader right into the story by using a stereotype. Isn't that an easy thing?
Exactly.
That is a great Flormonti answer. Perfect.
Yeah.
It's a drive-by answer.
It is.
That's right.
Yeah,
you
you
can
can.
always count on Tommy with the drive-by answer.
Yeah, they already know what the subject is. You go, yeah. It's just you talk about thugs or whatever in New York or whatever, and you already know. I mean, that's a stereotype, but you already know what. You don't even have to go into detail. You just know.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because sometimes I see in my student writing, they'll read a comic and they're like, these thugs were all dressed like thugs. That's so stereotypical. I don't understand why they were dressed like thugs. I'm like,
They're thugs.
Yeah,
because they were thugs.
That's right. Yeah, like if you were a heavy metal rocker dude or whatever, would have the tore up shirt with the black stuff in the eyes with the and all that kind of stuff, and that's a heavy metal crazy dude.
You're looking at my notes, aren't you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I skipping ahead?
It's okay. Hey, Tommy, Infrafan says you need to pick him up some Tron souvenirs.
That is a really cool ride. Unfortunately, they need to tear it down and make it 2 or 3 times as long because it is too short.
Mm-hmm.
It
You
is
need to wait in line too
way
many
too
times.
short.
Get back in line.
There you go. Right. I should have I got stuck. No, this is the kind of ride where you have to sit on it like a motorcycle. And then the legs. There's a thing that grabs the back of your legs and captures you into the car. So
But he doesn't work there. He just does
That's
that.
creepy.
Yeah, and I got stuck, and I'm trying to get out of this thing, and everybody else has got out of the thing, and they're like, "Sir, you need to get out." And I'm like, "I can't get out. I'm stuck. I'm 6'6". I can't get out of this stupid car."
So it trapped your legs like handcuffs?
No, yeah, it's got this little bar that comes down over your calf, and then you got a certain space where your knee to your feet, your shoes go, and you're kind of just jammed into it, and everybody else could just jump up because they're little tiny people.
This has been Tommy's Yelp review of Disney World.
I know, and I got stuck, and I'm like, I can't get out. Can you? And some little kid came over and was like, "Can I help you?" And I'm like, "You might have to."
How embarrassing, sir! Do you need some help?
Yeah,
So
I
where's
do.
Renee?
So you're going to have to move along.
Yeah, you're
I'm
gonna get
actually
out.
trying to find Renee. Oh, it's getting loud over here.
You lost Renee.
Don't you have that Find Renee app on your phone?
Oh, there she is.
All right.
Hey, Renee.
Don't put me on the air.
Hello.
Hey, Renee, let me switch it. Let me see if I can. Oh, it's stuck on the thing. So we'll do this. So, ma'am, what do you think about comic books?
You're live, Renee.
All right, that was it.
Hi.
All right, that's a stereotypical answer from a person shopping at Disney World.
All right, y'all keep talking. I'm gonna walk to the castle so y'all can see it, and then I'm gonna have to get off.
All right.
Hyper says, Silverline crew, thank you, Hyper, for joining us. As always, we love to see you here. I'll accept your woo pig with joy. And he reminds us, like and subscribe, kids. Please don't forget to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Logan says, tropes can be almost Jungian when properly employed.
Oh, he's too smart for me.
Yeah,
I
sure.
can't.
or is it Jungian?
I only have 6 years of college. I can't.
Only 6 years? Yeah, for a 2-year degree, right?
Yeah, but I had 4 freshman years, and so they were pretty strong.
Yeah.
We're gonna go trick or treating now.
All right.
All right.
Try to
have
treat.
fun.
I don't know.
Cool.
Uh-oh. I do feel like this is the man on the street here.
It is, isn't it?
We're waiting for Tommy to just to do something.
For those of you at home, this is Escape Room with Tommy Flormonti.
Uh-oh. He's going in. We're losing internet.
All right.
All right. That was
And
cool.
he's gone.
Or a little all right, I need to get off. All right, guys. We'll if I don't before the show's over, I'll jump back on.
All right.
Maybe by the Haunted Mansion because it's at least a Halloween thing. Bye.
Bye. How stereotypical of Tommy. Let's see here. All right, there we go. We got Roberta back up there colored.
Oh,
So
cool.
Stereotypes.
So stereotypes. So one of the things that Tommy pointed out is something that is a visual example that I like to use in class. Is like if you have a character, for instance, they're gonna some reason takes them into a concert, and in your mind, right, and as the writer, the kind of music is important because you're trying to establish certain characteristics about your character. You can't hear music in a comic book, right? There's no.
Oh,
music.
yeah, you can just start writing the lyrics.
Yeah, but so
well, that'll put a song in your head.
Well,
if you know
but what if you don't know? Yeah, that's it. If you know it, if you don't know it, then they're just words, right? They're just funny looking words. But like Tommy mentioned, if you show the stage and you got guys up there and long hair and some wacky makeup and maybe wearing 6 foot high heel, you're thinking somebody looks like Kiss. Oh, that's probably a metal band. If you put someone up there with a cowboy hat and some of those dangly, what are those things called?
Fringe.
Yeah. Cowboy fringe and cowboy boots, you're probably going to go, hey, that's probably a country music singer, right? These are stereotypical images, but they work for the story. You that way your character doesn't have to go in and go, oh, look, there's a performer up there singing country music.
Right.
But is that? But those are visual stereotypes. Those aren't necessarily character stereotypes. Those more. That's like saying that you have like a big city hotel is different than a roadside motel.
Yes. Sure. Yes, it is.
You're doing that, and so character stereotypes are a lot more difficult to work with.
They are. Yeah, they are.
Because I think to go back to one of the things that you said is that writing professors, especially, with the patches and the pipe and stuff,
that's right.
They're always saying, don't use stereotypes. Come up with a character who is original.
Yes.
And I would contend that that's almost impossible because there are no original characters. That if you strip away a character who feels like he's totally original, you'll start to see some of the stereotypes and tropes that were added to sort of build that character and make him more fully rounded.
Yes.
And especially if you're doing series work, like if you look at any TV show that has an ensemble, they sort of start out as a collection of eclectic stereotypes.
Yes.
Cheers had Sam Malone, a former baseball player, who everything he touches sort of is former sports.
Yes.
And then you've got Cliff, who's the know-it-all, and you've got Norm, who's the heavy-set guy who drinks too much.
Yeah.
You've got Coach, who's a little bit dim, who's later followed by Woody, who's a little bit dim.
Yep.
You've got Kelsey Grammer as Frazier, who is a snooty professor type, who might have been a writing instructor at one point.
Right. He probably was. Yeah.
You have Diane Chambers, who is the snooty college graduate, and you've got Carla, who's the working class professional waitress, basically. And all of them, at first glance, they all seem like, well, those are all stereotypes because I can sum them up in like one sentence or even half a sentence. But over time, as they evolve, they become deeper and richer, and they sort of transcend their initial characterization as a stereotype, and you start to think of them as real characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think if you're doing series work, the shorthand sort of helps you, whether it's NCIS or Brooklyn Nine-Nine or Ted Lasso or anybody, that you can sort of sum up the characters, even Friends. You can sum them up in like one line. But over time, because for serial work, you need to have a lot of stories.
Yeah.
And you've got to go deeper into who those characters are.
Well, and like you said, the stereotype provides that base for you to work from.
Yeah. So that way you don't have all the same type of character.
Yeah.
Because before we went live, I was talking about Big Bang Theory.
Yes.
All four of those guys are nerds.
Yep.
But each one represents a very different aspect of nerddom and a very different approach to how they celebrate their own nerdiness.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, you can look at them and go, I don't care, they're all nerds. But if you watch the show, each one is very different, and each one feels like a very real character.
Yeah. Yeah. Three of the four are deathly afraid of women, except for Wallowitz, who thinks he's the women's gift, God's gift to women. Right.
And I would argue that Leonard is the most normal one, and even he's not actually normal.
He's not.
Oh no, yeah.
So he's just the one who knows how to function in regular society.
Right. Yeah. A couple comments here for so hold on to it. Infrafan says it's a visual medium, so drawing a punk or a thug like one cuts your storytelling time down. Yeah, absolutely. It's the kind of stereotypes are automatic. So the right kind of stereotypes are automatic establishments. Yeah. And then he says Stan Lee would describe the heck out of something while the drawing did the same thing in a millisecond.
Well, I think that's because Stan was working, that Marvel style.
Yeah.
Where the artist would leave him a hole.
Yes.
And then Stan, because there's no previous script, Stan would have to put the stuff into the hole.
Yeah.
To fill the space.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, of course, anyone who's watched us on the regular know that I'm a huge fan of the Marvel method. And
yes,
I think sometimes when people hear that, they're like, well, you think you have to fill all the holes. It's like, well, no, not really. But one of the things I like to point out is when Pete was on here pretty regular, one of the things he said, he goes, I want words on the pages because I want the reader to look at my art.
Yes.
And if there are no words on the pages, they flip. They'll skim the art and flip, and the words cause the reader to slow down and absorb all the art.
Right. Well, that's why you got to find that perfect balance of just enough words and just enough art and just enough whatever to sort of give you that full experience. You want to be able to slow it down so the reader can enjoy the artwork.
But if there's too many words,
there's too many words,
then you're already kind of not looking at the artwork anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I think we've all seen comics where there's too many words and it's like, no, I really want to see some art.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Logan says, true, talking to us, but how many Wolverines did we get in the 90s? I think I was assuming he mean Wolverine knockoffs, right?
We got all the Wolverines we needed.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Wolveroach is probably one of my favorites, though.
Oh God, so good.
Yeah. All right. So what else? Other thoughts, Mike? What about you? Man in the Mask, stereotypes.
Well, again, I mean, everything that we've been talking about, and the idea is to subvert them, as the story progresses, because the initial stereotype of you see this person as a certain thing, and then as you start layering them, you have that, that you still have that connection to the stereotype, but they become something else.
Because
and then that's what you kind of build everything else from, because everything kind of connects with it.
Because
sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, that's what I'm saying. You introduce a certain kind of character. Yeah. And with that stereotype, you think to expect certain things. And when they start subverting them, like I said, that's what rounds up the character, because again, the reader is looking for certain kind of tales. The reader is looking for certain kind of things that, they're going to do this. And then if you're able to successfully subvert that stereotype, again, you're not losing the connection to the stereotype. You're just growing the character. I feel like I'm stereotypically going in circles, but that's kind of, again, how it's like in comics, Peter Parker starts out a certain kind of way.
Yeah.
Right.
And you get the visual of the geek, the nerdy guy.
Yep.
And then you get, as it progresses, he goes from Steve Ditko to John Romita, and along the way, Stan kind of directs this character in a certain way because he's the outsider, he's the outcast, and he can't catch a break. But as he's progressing, you see the growth of the character, and that's what keeps you interested in the character.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
But it never betrays his roots.
Because
he's still a nerd.
In Spider-Man, once Romita took over, the visual became a lot different. The visual was no longer nerdy and weak like Peter Parker was. In the early Ditko issues, Peter Parker looks almost sickly.
Right.
Yes.
Like a bookish worm who never leaves his house and doesn't know how to interact with in society. And Romita, who used to draw a lot of romance comics, sort of beefed up Peter Parker.
He turned into more of a handsome guy.
Right. He turned into a more handsome guy, and it's hard to it's sort of hard to write him as a nerdy stereotype when he's handsome and muscular now.
Right.
And the women got better looking because Romita was a better artist from the romance comics, drawing attractive women. And so you could not buy Peter Parker as a nerd who couldn't talk to women anymore.
Yeah.
And so in that way, the artist sort of reinforced the necessity to alter the stereotype.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
and the story kind of followed that as well.
Right. And now even in later portrayals now, only older fans think of Peter Parker as sort of the nerd.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody coming to Spider-Man now thinks of Peter Parker as the nerd. But now that they've flipped it and they have Miles Morales as an alternative Spider-Man, he's a little nerdy because he's younger.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And so you get some similar beats out of that, but it's a different variation on it.
Right. Wubba Fett says, "Hola, everyone. What is up, Wubba?
Hello,
It is
Wubba.
good to see you here." And Wubba says, "Good to see you all. Haven't seen your name pop up here in a while, Wubba. Hope you are doing well. Thank you for stopping by and saying hi to us."
Yeah. That's nice.
Infrafan says, "So stereotypes are essentially road signs for the story."
They're
You guys
guideposts.
Guideposts,
Speeding
right?
things along, right?
Yeah.
Because I think
That's what it is.
I don't know what others do, but when I start to create stuff or work with a new project, I tend to use stereotypical characters just to hold the space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I have the plot, and it's like, okay, I need a funny guy. Now I need a serious guy. Now I need a depressed guy. I need I need a Winnie the Pooh. I need an Eeyore. I need a Kanga and a Roo. I need a Tigger. I need all of that. And then as I work it out, and the story starts to take shape, and then the characters start to take shape to fit the story, and then I alter the stereotypes to give me, what I need that's best for the story. So they might start out as stereotypes, but hopefully they don't end up as that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's boring.
It is boring, and I like what Mike said earlier about, I would love to get to a point where it starts out as a stereotypical character, but by the time we're at, page 10 or issue 4 or whatever, I've completely subverted the idea of it, where, it's like, when we saw Darth Vader for the first time, we knew he was evil because he had all the evil visuals.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
But then when he becomes, spoiler alert, when he's Luke's father later on, it's like, well, that totally subverts tons of story.
Yeah. You look at it a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you start going back looking for clues. Oh, I got to find, I'm sure there's a clue somewhere that I missed.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and so the other thing I think about stereotypes is that, stereotypes exist for a reason. We have stereotypes because there is some element of truth in the stereotype. And some people might say, well, you know what? But some stereotypes are hateful. Some stereotypes are mean. I get all that. I understand all that. But a stereotype is still a stereotype. It exists for the reason that there is some element of truth in that stereotype.
Yeah, but if you're using the negative stereotypes just to be hateful, that becomes super obvious.
Yes.
And you're not at that point.
Oh,
You don't
yeah.
have a character. You just have a
Right.
vicious trope. And I think
Right.
you got to figure out, is this just a bad stereotype, or have I figured out a way to make this important to the story?
Right.
And I think that becomes that's the real test of the writer is can I work? Because we see a lot of horrible characters in TV and movies and stuff, and they're not necessarily offensive. So you can do it without resorting to horrific stereotypes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely. I agree. And I think that's one of the for those who are just kind of checking in, I'm like, hey, Roland says stereotypes are good. I think that's one of the things that I want to try to.
That'll get you in trouble now.
Yeah, that's one of the things I want to try to reinforce is that I think we can't just avoid stereotypes because they're stereotypes, right? We have to take them and then use them because they are a tool in our toolbox. But we have to be smart about the way we use them, because why would you not use a tool that's in your toolbox?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple of comments here, then we'll keep going here. And for fans says, I think that's what made The Last Ronin so effective, because Mikey was a stereotypical fun-loving party dude. I've heard great things about it. I have not read that yet.
I haven't read it either.
I need to read it. I know what you're talking about. For those of you who don't, that's one of the most recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stories, in which I think the other three are already dead, and I think that's the premise of it.
What?
Yeah.
But I think if you look at that, because the turtle sort of fits exactly what we're talking about. The turtle starts out there. They're just four goofy, wacky turtle that fight evil and eat pizza and whatever.
Yeah.
And over time they've become they've gotten deeper shades of both character and storytelling, and they're not necessarily all the wacky pizza eaters that they used to be.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's growth. I mean, Logan mentioned how many Wolverines, but imagine Wolverine. Would Wolverine have been able to transcend the original incarnation of this hacker slasher character if a lot of the stereotypes about that kind of character started falling away when you started seeing his belief of honor coming back, coming from no memory, coming from the idea of being a weapon and being alpha flight. And then you got the Japanese stories that pull in, a deeper meaning to him, a deeper thought to him. And as the character goes through the years, I mean, I haven't read X-Men for decades. I mean, I can't imagine that they progressed that much more. But like I said, the character Wolverine, through the stereotype of being that, hothead, he'd rather slice at you than talk to you. You start pulling back the curtain a little bit on his stereotype. Because where did it come from? Where did that come from? And by doing that, you've built something and made the character more interesting. Again, we're talking about Wolverine. When was the debut? Hulk 181. Like I said, it's $1 billion franchise.
Yeah,
because of those layers of different being able to portray him in different ways, but still, he's still that stereotypical hothead.
Well, that's the thing too. As a writer, because Wolverine's been around, what is it, almost 50 years?
Yeah.
And we know just enough about him that there are still holes in his story where you can still find more story.
Yeah.
So you don't. There's no traditional Wolverine project that tells you everything you need to know in one issue or one book now.
Right.
And I think that's sort of the place where you want to get, because that's how you keep the serialized fiction alive.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because if you info dump all of it right at the beginning, then there's nothing else to learn.
Well, we were talking about NCIS several weeks ago, and one of the things they do is, like with the Mark Harmon backstory, they've teased that out over 15 years. And you're always finding somebody from his past or a thing that he did that we didn't know yet.
Yeah,
they're always finding some new way to bring his story forward.
Yeah. BJ and I, speaking of NCIS, BJ and I just recently started watching NCIS New Orleans, Which
Oh.
It's okay. It's
yeah,
not,
yeah. Well, I like Scott Bakula, and who's the kid from Sling Blade?
Lucas Black.
oh, Lucas Black.
Man, he is really good in
He's
this.
awesome.
He is.
Yeah.
I was sorry to see him go.
Yeah. Oh no! Tell me that. What?
Oh, no. You didn't hear that. You didn't hear that.
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah.
Oh man, no, he's so good in that one. Yeah.
And also, if you look, one of the things that NCIS does really well is they take their secondary characters, or their recurring guest characters.
Yeah.
Like Joe Spano's FBI guy.
Yeah.
Or a couple of my favorites. One was Mike Franks.
Yep.
Who seems at first like a stereotype.
Yep.
And then he transcends that over several episodes. And then Agent Bourne, the Coast Guard version of NCIS, when she comes out.
Yeah.
And she's just as tough as Gibbs, but in a different way.
Yep.
And so she sort of transcends the role of the female crime solver.
Yeah. No, I think whoever writers are on NCIS, they're very good. Geekmen, Masters of Thunder Nerd says, "How's it going, y'all? What is up, sir? Thank you for stopping by and saying hello. We're talking about stereotypes tonight. So here's one. So let's just theoretical, right? How would you maybe address something like this? So again, going back to the idea that stereotypes exist for a reason. All right, there's some truth behind stereotypes. If you were going to work, let's say you were going to have a part of your setting was going to be a convenience store. The stereotypical clerk would be. Y'all gonna make me say it, right? An Indian guy.
I was going to say the stereotype would be the foreigner.
Yeah, the foreigner, the Indian guy, right? That's kind of what I think of when I think of a stereotypical convenience store clerk.
But I wouldn't want to do it because The Simpsons has already mined that.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I don't really watch The Simpsons, so
because there's like 300 episodes of The Simpsons with Apu, and I would think, well, that is now too obvious, and then people would say that I was just ripped. People wouldn't accuse me of using a stereotype. They would accuse me of ripping off The Simpsons.
See, I would approach it. I would put a redneck behind the counter. That's how.
Yeah, I like that idea much
in
better.
my area, that would be the stereotype. In this area, the guy with the hat, the backwards hat, probably barely dressed with the barely uniform ready,
missing the tooth.
Yeah, and no regrets tattoo.
No regrets. Yeah. No regrets.
Or you can't touch this T-shirt from 40 years ago. I mean, that's a regional stereotype that I would probably use in Man the Mask.
Right. Your stories are set in that region.
Exactly. So.
And that's your clerk.
Yeah.
Because I was just in Virginia last couple of weeks, and that's the same convenience store worker that I see.
Yeah.
It might as well be a truck stop if you're a southern truck stop if you're going with that stereotype with the backwards cap or the the kid with the missing teeth who spends all his money on meth or whatever it is. But even
and the thing about it is, the great thing about subverting that is I know a person that's kind of like that, and he moonlighted as a award-winning wedding photographer. You would have never thought it.
Really?
He would have. I mean, honestly, he was right behind that counter during the weekends. He built a wedding business that set him up for life. But I worked in that convenience store, and you would have never guessed it.
And I would want to do a story where he sets up because he has to work a double shift. He has to do the wedding shoot at the convenience store.
So feel for the story.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's also funny because, Brett and I went to the ball game this weekend, and as we were walking along, it was easy to say, yeah, there's a bunch of frat boys right there. Right. Now, I don't know whether they were or not, but the way they were dressed, the fact that they were in a little group, they were all acting, they were, frat boys, a lot of them dress up really, coats and ties. In the South, like coats and ties going to ball games. And there was this group of 5 or 6 guys, all immaculately, ties, spiffy and everything. And it was like, yeah, there's a bunch of frat boys right there. I
see them. There's a group at my gym.
Frat boys?
where you can tell they all
Yeah.
belong to some kind of frat because they're wearing frat T-shirts or whatever, but
Yeah.
they all look like they came from the same mother.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think now go ahead.
No, I was just going to read a couple comments here. Logan says Buc-ee's is a great venue. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Right down the road.
Yeah. Jackson Rennick, what's up, Jackson? He says, Roberta, love watching you coloring.
Awesome. Thank you.
So I think, for me, if I have to populate any sort of business like a bar, or a convenience store or a gas station or whatever, a lot of who's going to run that business is what region am I in?
Yep.
Because it's going to be different. If I want it to be believable, I want it to be true to the region.
Right.
And if I've seen it somewhere else, like I couldn't write. I don't think I could write a story about the cop who has one last crime to solve before he retires.
Yeah.
Because I've seen that like 100 times.
Yeah.
In the last year alone, and so I think. Yeah. So for me, it's if I was going to do that, I would have to find the way that makes it different, so that it's not about a cop who's going to retire and has one last case to solve. It's something else, and the cop just happens to be a guy who's going to retire.
Yeah.
Because the Lethal Weapon movies got really old really fast when Danny Glover had one more case to solve, but he had 4 more cases to solve before he retired.
Yeah.
Never ends. Yeah.
Like I said, you got to propel the story somehow, and using old stereotypes that don't grow anywhere.
Right.
What are you going to do with them? I mean, you can't.
Or just use a outdated stereotype, and bring nothing to it.
Right. Yeah.
Like I think it's great. I think a frat boy stereotype is funny, let's say.
Yes.
But
can be.
It's not just funny to see it. It's got what am I going to do with it?
Right.
Yeah. If it's just a shorthand visual for a rock concert where there's a heavy metal band on stage, that's fine to set the tone. If I'm going to make the heavy metal rocker a character in the story who propels the story forward, then I got to figure out a way to do something with it. Is he window dressing to set the scene, or is he going to be a character?
Right.
Yeah, and I think that may be part of the danger in stereotypes. Are they just there for window dressing, right?
Right.
And I don't know that that's necessarily wrong. If you could throw someone, here's the stereotype of this character. I need this character right here for right now. I don't know that that's necessarily wrong, because what role are they playing in the story? And I think that's the one of the things you have to ask yourself is, what role is this character playing in the story? Do I need my character run into a convenience store and bump up into a foreign speaker? Is this going to complicate? Do I need this to complicate the story somehow? What is the need? What is the role of that stereotype going to be?
Yeah, because if I send my character into a heavy metal concert, for example,
yes,
what's the purpose of that?
Right.
Because the purpose isn't just to see some funny looking hair metal band, and have a funny visual just because Stephen Butler wants to draw a funny hair metal band, although he could draw a great
which he probably does,
right? Which I'm willing to do, but it would be funny. And again, this is off the top of my head. If there's a reason for my character to go to the heavy metal rock concert, and then he has to meet the lead singer or whatever, and the lead singer turns out to be completely different than what his visual is on the page, then that's more interesting as a story conceit.
Yeah. Kind of like I don't know that much about this character, but I once saw an interview with Marilyn Manson, and I'm like, that is not anything like what I anticipated you to be.
Well,
I'd seen the videos, right? Yeah. Based on what I saw in the music and the videos.
Character.
Yeah, as a character, and then wait, Marilyn Manson.
He's a person.
Yeah.
Well, because the same thing I saw Frank Zappa.
Oh, really?
In this, but not personally, but I saw him on,
Okay, yeah.
on album covers and
Right.
on rock shows or whatever. I would see images of him, and in my head I got, I know exactly who that guy is.
Right.
And then I heard him testify in front of Congress, and it's like, oh, wait a minute.
That's not what I thought he was.
That the visual of Frank Zappa is not connected to the actual Frank Zappa who speaks, because the Frank Zappa who speaks is compelling.
Yeah. Well, and
interesting.
He and Dee Snider, right? They were both there.
Dee Snider's another guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. You can't, I mean, you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, which
But
I think
in comics we do.
We do, but I think the interesting part of it is maybe the cover gets me to connect to the material and to get me to pick it up and to get me to start reading or whatever.
Yeah.
But surprising me, what Mike said earlier in the show, surprising me by twisting that convention will make me stay.
Yes. Yeah.
Because Deadpool started out as one way, and then when Joe Casey took over and the characters started breaking the fourth wall and started being the wacky movie Deadpool, it's a totally different Deadpool than we were used to.
Yes. Yeah. And arguably we could say that it's a stronger Deadpool, right? Because had Deadpool stayed the way he was in New Mutants, then we may not have Deadpool versus Wolverine in the movie theaters.
Right.
Everybody's seen that now, right?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's growth. Again, it's growth.
Yeah.
I mean, you think of all the instances in comics and TV and movies. You think of the show Lost. I mean, the whole show was built on the idea of stereotypes, but then get their story, and maybe you're going to look at them a different way, and that pulls in, someone watching, because again, they're showing you one stereotype, and then once they pull back an onion peel a little bit, it's like, okay, maybe I wasn't going to be interested in that character, but I am now.
Yeah.
Because
they used it as a storytelling method of showing you what you expect, and then, hey, here's the real story.
Because I think I learned something new every time Thomas Wayne gets killed.
But I think going back to what Tom was saying earlier, I think one of the things that a writer can do is because part of what makes, I think, interesting ensemble cast is the fact that the characters are different, right? They're not.
Yes.
We don't want to see the same. We're going to the Turtles, for instance. If all four of the Turtles were exactly alike, that wouldn't be very interesting. But they're not, right? They each of them have, there's similarities. They're all turtles. They all know, karate, ninja, whatever. They're all like 4 foot tall and they speak. But they all have, they all have different interests. They all love pizza, but they all have different interests. You have specialties in a different weapon. Some movie quotes going on here by Geekmen. Jim O'Reilly says, "Oh, hello, what's up, Jim? Thank you for stopping by. We're talking about stereotypes, but I think if you want to, if you're trying to create a cast that has interesting interaction, one of the things you don't want your cast to get along. If they all just get along swimmingly, then this is boring, right? So
you've got the first 3 seasons of Star Trek Next Generation.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. I mean, the writer, you're the one making this stuff up, right? So you can't say, well, that's the way the character is. No, you made them up. Change them. Right? Or discard them and bring somebody else in. But I think, if you're like, well, here's my main character. This is what I want. I've got that rock solid. Okay, what stereotype would be diametrically opposed to this character that you've created? Start with that, right? And then you could build upon that stereotype. And now you've got conflict, right? And this is what you want to see.
Yeah, because I look at stuff like shows like an old show like Barney Miller, or a new version of that show like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. They all play with stereotypes.
Yeah.
But they all deepen those characters, from the boss to the wacky detective to the stern female detective, to the hardcore followed by the book detective, to the two guys who really don't want to get off the couch and solve a crime.
Yeah.
To, it's a lot of stereotypes to start with, but as I've said 40 times, I guess because the thing is, if I'm not interested, I'm out, and so you got to make it. You want to play with stereotypes, that's great, but you got to make it interesting, or I won't follow.
Yeah. So briefly, let's talk. We'll talk a little bit about because we talked about some visual stereotypes, some character stereotypes, but let's talk briefly about some story stereotypes. So one of the things that I see in my class sometimes is a character who is a hero, right? Let's just say a hero character, and then this character saves a damsel in distress. And one of the comments that I see from my students a lot is that, oh no, this is a stereotypical damsel in distress. And my question to them is usually, okay, if they change this sex to a male, does that change your feeling of the story? Do you just want a guy to be saved? Is that what it is? And sometimes the answer is like, well, no, it's still, they're having, I was like, okay, so your problem is not with the sex of the character. Your problem is with the story. Because if somebody has to be saved, there's a 50-50 chance it's going to be a female, right?
Yeah, I think more importantly is I've seen that set up like 1,000 times.
Yes. So do something different.
I understand it that can be a shorthand for introducing the hero, but I also understand that because where I am at in my reading history, I've seen it enough times that it's not new to me. And what will be new to me is if somebody did something different.
Yeah.
And that's what would be interesting. And I've seen, I cannot recall the instances, but I've seen that sort of damsel in distress rescue thing work. But I've also seen it more times just not work and be the same thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And so if you're gonna play with that and use that storytelling trope, you need to bring something new to me.
Bring something new. You can use it, but bring something new.
Yeah. Have it go horribly wrong. No one's done it where the person dies.
Yeah.
And they don't say
I don't recall that. Yeah.
No.
And so that may not work for the story, but that is at least different.
Yeah. 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 And I think this kind of goes back to also what we're talking about as far as the other stereotypes, right? Is you can start with the stereotype, but what can you bring new? How can you take that and take the stereotype and then turn it on its head? Right. Start where like, oh, look, it's a damsel in distress. Well, what's going to happen? Well, we've seen the damsel in distress fight, right? Right. We've seen the hero swoop in and save the day. So again, I like the one where the person dies. I don't know that we've seen that.
Well, I also like the one that you could use, and I don't know if I've seen this before or not, so I don't know if I'm stealing it from somebody, but one where if you have the character walking down the dark alley or whatever, about to be attacked by person A, is rescued by superhero B or whatever, and then killed by superhero B. That's interesting too, because now I don't know if I don't know who the hero is. I don't know who the villain is. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And now I will turn the page if that happens. I will see. I'm interested now.
Yeah. And I think that's all part of it, right? Is how do you keep the reader moving, right? How do you keep the reader moving through the story? How do you make them go from, your cover to your opening page to page 3 and 4, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How do you keep them moving?
Because in the movie Die Hard, they sort of set Bruce Willis up as the stereotypical, tough guy cop who's flying across country to try to make up with his soon-to-be ex-wife, but they keep intercutting that with scenes of guys getting ready to rob the Nakatomi Tower, and so while you're sort of thinking that Bruce Willis might be a stereotype, you're still sort of intrigued by what the heck is going on.
Yeah,
and that pulls you in, and then you realize that Bruce Willis has many more shades than just tough guy cop.
Yeah,
but at the same time, in the world of the movie, he's exactly the kind of tough guy cop that you need.
Yeah. And so bringing it home a little bit, one of the things that I attempted to do, jury's out whether I've accomplished that as well. But character Demon from Cat and Mouse is tends to be a well-liked character by readers, and I've said it before. No shame in saying it. For me, is that I was a big fan of the Englehart Perez Beast. Right when the Beast was in the when he was in the Avengers. Of course, I'm still I'm a Spider-Man fan, right? And so my early Demon was very much an homage, right, to Beast. But as I at least in my mind, as I matured a little bit as a writer, and I could see some of this, I thought, what are the things that I can do that are different, right? Well, he's kind of a scientist, right? Well, what if I made him a veterinarian, right? What if he doesn't want to be seen, and so he works at night, and his office is open during the day, but he's not seen. His nurse takes in all the animals, and he comes in at night, does the stuff, and then they present it to them the next day, right? I tried to think of things that were different, and would because I don't know how thin. Sometimes I don't know how thinly veiled that connection to the Beast is. Well, he's brown, but I don't know if people look at him and say, "Oh yeah, I can see the Beast connection." You guys know me a long time, know that. So
also you play with the name, because Demon is not his personality. Like you name a character Demon, and you have certain images in your mind of who that character is and how he responds, whatever. But your guy is
nice.
He's nice. Yeah. He's friendly. Really, you don't want to get on his bad side or whatever. But he's not Wolverine aggressive.
No.
He's very grounded in reality.
Yes, and he would prefer not to be called Demon.
That's right.
Yeah. And so I think those are shades of the character that come out over time.
And he's even said more than once, when people call him a demon, I'm not a demon. That's what he says. I'm not a demon.
Right.
And so this was a way for me to, because I saw certainly these are the things that were stereotypical of this character. Now, how can I take it and how can I change some of these stereotypes so that it's not?
So to me, a funny story with that would be where a character is trying to summon a demon for help, and Demon appears, and the summoner thinks that he's an actual demon, and he can't say no. He decides to help that person anyway, even though he's not technically a demon.
Yeah. Did you read my Vortex story that I did for Kamiko?
Oh God, no. If I did, I can't remember.
Yeah. That's how he shows up. There's a Native American in Philadelphia, because the Elementals were set in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Right, because that's where Bill Willingham was.
That's where there is a Philadelphia, Pennsylvania there is a Philadelphia, Mississippi that happens to be home to the Choctaw Indian tribe, half of them. And so the Vortex story that I wrote has an American Indian, has a Choctaw, summoning the great wind spirit to blow the evil corporation away, and he summons Vortex.
Well, there, I probably stole it from you then.
But Vortex decides to stick around. I'm like, yeah, I'm not the guy you summoned, dude.
Right.
I'm not who you meant to summon. But what's going on? And so he says, oh yeah, corporations are evil. Let me help you. And so they end up battling the corporation.
Also, I think the lesson here is that corporations are evil.
I think so too.
Because I grew up reading Steve Gerber's Roxxon Oil.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I loved those agents' outfits.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
And those outfits were visual stereotypes as well.
They absolutely were. Yeah.
Also, another great visual stereotype is the Men in Black movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because those, I mean, in the literature of alien investigation, that's how Men in Black generally dress.
Yes.
But that that uniform says a lot about their character, but the personalities of Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones could not be more different
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
fairly serious FBI agents.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, you're absolutely right. It embraces it, gives them the dark
Yeah.
sunglasses, the dark coats and ties, and
Yep. And it also gives them the dark sunglasses as a purpose. They have to wear the dark sunglasses so that when they make the characters erase their memory,
yeah,
they are immune. And so that's the things have a reason.
I want a little flashy thing.
That's right, the little flashy thing. Where do I get one of those?
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all the questions I have. Any other thoughts? Anything that you guys want to say that I didn't touch on?
I think we hit it pretty good.
Yeah, we hit it hard tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
I do like Roberta's coloring though. Look at that thing.
Thank you.
I'm telling you. Yeah,
that's really,
it's coming together.
Because the thing that I love is I love process, and so I love to watch. I love to watch pencilers work and work their way through a problem, and I love to watch the way the inker figures out, well, this is where the ink goes.
Yeah.
And I love to watch the colorist, because I think I've said this before. When you're laying in the flat colors, it's still colorful, but it doesn't take its form. It's still evolving like a sculpture.
Yeah.
And then
I'd chip away at it. Yeah.
Chip away at it, and you start to see it. You start to really see it go. Oh.
Yeah.
That's a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, I always know if I don't, as the writer, if I don't provide enough resources, Roberta's always, hey, I need this. Can you send me this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question for you later.
Okay.
There. Let's see. Now there's a stereotype. Roland needs to provide more reference.
That's right. Yeah,
Right.
I found this great website for the snakes that we're using, and so
it's awesome.
So I tried to provide in the script. Here's this snake. Here's this snake. Here's what this snake is. Because I don't want all the snakes to look alike.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
each of them,
that personality.
each of them are
It's
different.
like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles of snakes.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. There's going to. Oh, actually, I kind of. And I probably shouldn't be telling on myself here, but one of the stories that Englehart did with the Avengers that I absolutely loved was the Zodiac, right?
Oh.
And each of the Zodiacs, right, were embodied by their Taurus was a bull, you
Right.
know. And I absolutely loved that. I'm just like, that is, and they were all different, and it was one of my favorites. So yeah, this is in here we've got a swifter, a racer. One of the snakes is a racer, so they're real fast.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
This is the other one.
yeah. So yeah, and of
pretty
course
cool.
we'll see. And for those who are paying attention, who's into snakes, all of these snakes are in the Louisiana area. They're all part of the Louisiana area.
So thanks for that travel
there's
tip, because I'm never going.
Yeah, so they're no boa constrictors or anything like that, because they're
Nothing.
not indigenous to the Louisiana, New Orleans area. So
the snake people aren't going to cancel you?
you know what? They might. I don't know. If they do, I might ask the furries for help.
See, now there's a team up I would see.
And there's more stereotypes, right? A furry.
Yes, I'll tell you, furry. Because when there's a great episode of CSI about furries.
Oh no, really?
Why?
Where you think that because there's a murder at a furry convention, and you think you know
my
furries,
God.
but the writers give each of the furries a completely different characteristic.
Turn it on its head.
Yeah,
Okay, that's cool.
they're regular weirdos that dress up in furry costumes.
Yeah, yeah.
Normal weirdos.
Just
Normal
like
weirdos.
comic book makers, right?
Yeah. Well, like how many times have you seen a cosplayer at a convention and you think, oh, I know exactly who that person is, and then you start talking to them, it's like, oh no, I'm super wrong.
Yeah. I had a student of mine who had told me that she was a cosplayer, and I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. Right toward the end of the class, she said, "Did you ever go look at any of my pictures?" I'm like, "No, no, I didn't." She said, "You need to go to look at some of my pictures." She was bringing in several $1,000s a month with her pictures, and I'm like,
Right on.
I had no clue. I had no idea. I ended up meeting her mom at graduation, and I said, "That's pretty cool that she's generating all this money from putting on costumes." Come to find out, people send her costumes for free, and like, here, wear this costume, and
Wow.
yeah. So
That's
She lucked out.
it's a fascinating subculture. It's
yes.
not.
Yeah.
At first glance, it's not anything like you would think it was. Like I know if my parents saw cosplayers, I know exactly what they would say and exactly how they would react. And you would try to explain to them the culture that exists and how most of them hold regular jobs and they go about their business and they couldn't hear of it.
Yeah, that person's a banker. That person's an accountant.
Right.
That guy works on the road crew for the State Department.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it would make my parents' head explode.
Yeah,
because they have no context for that.
Yeah. All right. So I think to sum up tonight, I'll try to sum it up. If you guys want to add something or disagree with me, feel free. I think to sum up is don't be afraid of stereotypes. Don't avoid them just because your English professor in high school or college said to avoid stereotypes. But be aware that it is a tool, and like a carpenter needs to know how to use his level. He's got a level. It's in his toolbox. He needs to know how to use it. You need to know how to use stereotypes. Yep. And that's the whole kind of purpose behind this. Don't avoid them, but know how to use them.
Yeah.
Also, your English professor is not a writer. He's a professor.
That's true. Some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them. I've heard the old.
Some of them,
I've heard the old. Yeah. Those who can't write teach, and I'm like, I'm teaching.
I'm dealing with stereotypes here, Roland. Help me out.
That's right. You sure are. Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right.
On Tuesday. That's still on stream on Tuesday. We're going to be talking about marketing your comic online. The gang discusses how you can market your comic on social media and web. I think this was intended for last week, but I think something popped up for Tim, so they just rescheduled it for today. So if you're like, wait, didn't you say that last week? Yeah, I did, but
you did say that last week.
I did, so they didn't get to cover it. Wednesday, the Wednesday Whammers will be talking about Silverline Heroes Assemble. The host will have a chance to assemble a team of Silverline heroes to face off against a team of Silverline villains. That sounds like a lot of fun.
And that's where you can use stereotypes, because what do I need in my group?
I need a strong man, right?
A strong guy. I need a funny guy. I need a guy with electrical powers. I need a woman with a sword. I need whatever. And you got
I need somebody who could fly.
Right.
Yep.
Because they're going to be pitted against these villains. And then once you figure out the lineup of your heroes and your villains, then you start to adjust based on what your story is going to be and say, well, I'm going to take that one out now and put that one in.
Yep, absolutely. Next week, and I apologize. Hopefully he will tell me the correct pronunciation of his name next week. But we're going to be here with guest Henri Compan. Those of you in independent comic book circles are aware of Henri, and I don't have his title written down right here, but this guy is known for selling 1,000 copies, up to 1,000 copies of his books live at comic shows. I've never heard of anyone doing this other than Henri, and we're going to Henri is the only name I know him go by, but he has agreed to come on and talk to us, and hopefully we'll pry some of the secrets out of him as to how he sells so many copies of his work at shows. So that's next week, Tuesday. That's 8 p.m. Pacific time, and then Wednesday and next Sunday we're both 8 p.m. on Eastern time.
Excellent.
Anything else, guys?
Nope.
Roberta?
What?
Looking fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'd like to say, in the spirit of stereotypes, I've had a wonderful time, and you're a great bunch of people to work with, and it was a really fun project.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, Mike, you want to thank the Academy?
I would like to thank the Academy. Thank you. I don't know what to say, and I'm just looking for world peace.
That's right. Okay. Well, Mom and Dad, this is for you. Remember to
Make
make
mine
mine
Silverline.
Silverline. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
We'll see you next time.
Hey, I'm G-Rod. Make mine Silverline. You heard me.